Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for your program. My daughter she joined Dr. Sayan's
workshop,
women's workshop, and she really enjoyed that.
That's extraordinary. Yes, I have the pleasure of seeing the women that are going into the workshop when I'm there setting up the workshop with my wife in the beginning, and then I go back on the last evening, and I can't believe it's the same women in the room sometimes. So much.
She really enjoyed that. I also bought some of the products that you have, the DVDs and then the CDs, and I really enjoyed that myself.
Thank you.
Real, two quick questions,
Yeah.
and I just want to thank you for your program.
Thank you.
One of the questions was how can one, I'm 58 years old,
Yeah.
how to mend my past with my family or with my friends, the people who I might have hurt during the years that I had a little anger trouble, or I when growing with my children that I missed out, and then they during their growth and then they're growing up, we didn't have a chance to be together so much, and because of the problems that I had myself personally, and also both financially and personally,
Yeah.
I missed a lot of things in their lives, and then we kind of grew apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, how can I mend that? How is there any mend to that? How
Absolutely.
Can I how can I at this age come back to that and try to fix my? I know it's very hard, but at least to fix it in a way that I have a reasonable relationship with my family and my children. That was one question, and another quick one, if I may, may I ask you that too?
Yes.
It's related. The other one is, I used to, when you have when I had a bad day, and a few things happen at the same time.
Yep.
All of a sudden, somebody comes in, and then for some reason says something, and does something, or spills something, and then you really freak out. And I used to freak out a lot. Just freak out at the kids and my wife and my family. And then, of course, I've learned now at this age to control that, but I still do freak out once in a while.
Yeah.
How can one deal with that kind of an issue? How can stop freaking out and be more rational and reasonable? It's kind of hard for me to do that. Can you help me with those two issues?
Yeah. Stay on the line, though, because I want to have a conversation with you rather than just try to, okay, so that we can have a dialogue rather than a monologue.
Sure.
So the two issues are related to each other. One is because and when you said freaking out, what I hear is you went into a rage, or you got very, very angry, and there's a level of anger that's beyond anger. It's called rage, or it's kind of uncontrolled anger. So is that what you meant by freaking out?
Yeah, maybe both. Maybe both. Yeah.
Yeah, uncontrolled anger, where you're saying things that you're going to regret later. You're doing things that you don't mean to do, but you can't stop yourself from doing them.
Correct.
So in that case, there's difference between having anger. Yes, you can have anger. You can be angry. And then, and anger can be a very healthy response to certain circumstances. And then there is being controlled by anger, where anger has you. Okay? And where anger has you and you do not have control over what's even coming out of your mouth. So that's two different situations. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out to you. Because of your age, I already know that you were around probably in Iran during the revolution, or had to leave Iran because of the revolution. Is there something like that in your life?
Not only that, and I was at when the war happened in the south, in Abadan, I was there. I went through the war, and I went through the revolution. Whatever you name it, I went through it.
Okay, so what you are experiencing is a managed, if you will, form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, okay, is what they like to call it, okay? In other words, you have been traumatized. Your emotional system has been traumatized, the bottom line is that your central nervous system has been traumatized. That's where it ends up. But you've been mentally traumatized, emotionally traumatized, probably, I'm going to say spiritually traumatized, in that, we get traumatized sometimes when our life is threatened and we cry out to God and still bad things happen, And so we begin to question our own relationship with our spirituality, with who we are and what we are, and we begin to doubt whether our life has any meaning or real significance, and our identity becomes twisted, if you will. And by twisted I mean when we are first born, when we come into the world, we're open, loving, curious creatures, that are very available and very vulnerable. And over a series of traumatic experiences, we become twisted in such a way as to survive. So the anger, what's always underneath anger is an extreme sadness or even a depression. So anger is actually a healthy response in terms of it's better to be angry than to be depressed, isn't it?
Yes.
I'd rather you be angry about the situation than just resigned and giving up. So anger is our body's natural way of shooting some adrenaline into our brain and reacting so that we pull ourselves up and at least fight for what we believe is right, even though sometimes we don't even know what that is. Okay? So
how do I deal with the rage?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. The healing of your family, the healing of your relationship with your children and your family, where you have, made them basically afraid of you because you've gotten angry or gone into a rage and flew off the handle. I wouldn't even think about doing that until you have dealt with the first one. So your second question was actually the most important question. The first question will happen naturally out of dealing with the second question. Dealing with the anger, dealing with the rage. Now, the first thing I want to say is, did you see that movie Good Will Hunting?
No, I did not.
Well, that's all right. It doesn't matter. The punchline is, it's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault. And I know that when you go into these rage things, afterwards you feel terrible. You may even go and get alone and cry about it. You probably feel very, very sad about having hurt people in your life that you love, and you may feel afraid or sad that this thing comes over you and you have no control over it, and that it causes damage. Is that true?
That's very true.
Yeah. And so it can begin to feel kind of hopeless, like, one of the unconscious ideas that comes up is that I'm not worth loving. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy of the love that my family has shown me because I'm such a bad person. I have no control over my anger. And so we go about our lives attempting to control the symptom. The symptom is the anger, but it's not the source. The source is that in your central nervous system, your central nervous system is responsible for your breathing, your heartbeat, your appetite, your sexual appetite, you could say, your sexuality, your sleep patterns. All of these things are regulated automatically without you having to think about it, right?
Right.
Right? You get cold, you get goosebumps. That's your central nervous system telling you, cover up, right? It's telling the skin to bump up. It's sending so that the follicles of the hair stand up. There's a lot of things that are all automatic, okay? Thank God for that, right? If you had to remember how to do some of the things that remember how to breathe all the time. Oh, I forgot to breathe, right? No, all these things are happening all the time by themselves. Your heart's beating. Your lungs are breathing. Take a deep breath right now.
Okay.
Yeah. See how good that feels?
Yeah.
Yeah, that just feels good. And you can consciously begin to slow your central nervous system down or your nervous system down. You can begin to access a calmer state of mind. Yes. However, certain things will trigger you that, let's say, wouldn't trigger another person, right?
Right.
Those triggers are not the source of your anger. They're just the trigger. Do you see what I'm saying? Like we use word trigger, like trigger on a gun, right?
Right. Yeah, I
right?
understand that.
The
yes.
trigger doesn't shoot the bullet, right?
Right.
The trigger just tells the hammer, and the hammer tells the gunpowder, and the gunpowder tells the bullet. Do you know what I mean? But the person pulls the trigger, right?
Right.
So to use that metaphor, so to speak, something happens that triggers this response in you. And then after that, there's no you left. You become the vehicle for this rage to get expressed. And some of this rage isn't even your rage, I'll tell you that. Some of this rage is generational rage. In other words, your entire generation was traumatized. Your entire Iranian generation lived through a war and a revolution, and those of you that call me have usually had to leave the country and go find another language and another source of income and another culture, and go to a place and maybe establish a business and try to raise a family in a place where you might not have even felt welcome. Am I right?
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of you have had to go to new places where the people weren't exactly nice to you. You know, especially because of the Iranian Iranian-American hostage situation. There was a lot of animosity over here towards Iranians. We didn't know who you guys were, and a lot of people came over here, and people were mean to you. You know, and by the way, I want to apologize to you personally for that. I didn't personally mistreat any Iranians because I didn't know any, but. And I was living in France at the time anyhow, so I wasn't even here when the Iranian Revolution happened. I was living in France. But I understand because my wife and the history of her family is, I've learned this. And also because of, there's a film out that we just watched the other night called The Iranian Americans, and it's pretty interesting. It kind of tells your story a little bit. So back to you. There is some work that I do and that my wife does and that you can find out about by either calling the office or checking it out online, called unfinished business. And you, my friend, do have some unfinished business.
I do have that.
Yeah. There's some. You have the CD or the DVD or something like that, or the book?
I do have it. I bought it, yes.
Yeah, okay. And did you do the exercises?
No.
There's some written exercises. I know it's not unusual. People buy things and then they don't actually do the stuff that's in there. It's not unusual, but at least it's there. It's available to you, and that is, I consider it to be a good start. Okay, because in the end, I believe that the most powerful interactions, and by powerful I mean what I call power is when you intend something and it happens right away. That's pretty powerful, right?
Right.
When you have an intention, you speak your intention, and the next thing you know, that thing is happening. That's what I call an expression of power. So the most powerful situations are where you're actually in communication one-on-one with another human being who is guiding you to the source of that upset and helping you to actually heal that right then and there on the spot. Not come back next week and we'll go at it another hour. No, let's deal with it right now, here, today, and have it be the end of it forever. That's the kind of therapy that we practice at Embraced Growth, really getting something handled right here and now. Now, are there people who continue to come back? Yes, there are. Of course there are. There are people who want to take what they've learned and move on and rebuild a more powerful, more fulfilling life because they've just spent 58 years, in your case, kind of messing things up. And so there's some other healing to do, right? But first, let's heal this thing in you that was traumatized so many years ago, you know, as you participated in a war that I'm certain you wanted nothing to do with.
Absolutely not.
Nobody wants to go to war. You know, if they do, you know, it's because something has been, their personal family or them has been threatened. And so, yeah, they want to go to war to push that threat back. But everybody tries to do their best, I believe, to do it through other means rather than getting out a gun and start shooting at somebody, right? It's kind of a last resort, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sure you didn't want to participate in that. You were probably compelled to participate in that. You were probably had your life threatened in a number of ways, real or imagined, and those things would set up a survival frame of mind, state of mind in your subconscious and in your nervous system that would have a fight or flight response to most stimuli.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
That makes very much sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that is a programmed response. That's why you don't have any control over it. If you got a virus in your computer, if somebody was able to go into your computer through the internet or through your keyboard and put in a virus, what you would see if you were a computer tech and you looked at it would be a string of code, numbers and letters and symbols, yes? That tell your computer, which is a perfectly fine computer, to respond in a certain way. It tells it to act this way. So the computer's perfectly healthy, it's just doing what it's being told to do by this string of code. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yes.
So neurolinguistic programming is exactly that. It is finding out what is the source of this upsetting way that you talk. What is the trigger, right? And if I was a computer technician, I could go in there and I would highlight that string of code. I would delete it. I would use that code to build a code of my own that said anything that even remotely looks like this code, that has any of these symbols or numbers in this particular sequence or order in it, never allow it to enter into the computer again. If it comes in, reject it. Right?
Absolutely, yes.
So I could program an antivirus, if you would, to your computer so that you couldn't get that one. So it could just never come back ever again, and your computer would be just fine. Our subconscious, the reason what was discovered by the founders of NLP was that our mind is very much like a computer. That it has certain sequences of ways of doing things, and certain things trigger it. You know, you get hungry in the middle of the night, you automatically get up and go look in the refrigerator, for example, or you. The alarm clock goes off, so you get up, go to your car, go to the shower, go to the car, drive to work, right? These are sort of automatic things that you do. You may have to think about them a little bit, but pretty much you've done them so much that they're a habit. Maybe you woke up at the same time every day for a number of years, and so now, even though if you were retired, you still wake up at that time. These are the kind of programmed responses that people have to normal stimuli. Now, what if every time the alarm clock went off, you jumped up and slammed it onto the floor? You'd have to buy a lot of alarm clocks, right?
That's right.
Well, you have a response that's a little bit like that, right? Every time something happens, and there's very specific things that happen. If you think about it, you'll see that there's a pattern to it. There's very specific things that trigger you, and when they do, you go off. It's just like if you're programmed to do that. So,
okay, Gregory, what you're saying is that we can deprogram that, right? We can
absolutely
the way to delete that virus and then deprogram. Is that correct?
That's absolutely what I'm saying, and I'm saying also that it doesn't take a long time to do it. It's not like, oh, you got to come back again and again and again for years of therapy. The therapy part is about really creating newly, now that you've been this way for 58 years, if I was to take that away, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself. In other words, when things are going badly, when there's an emergency, when there's an upset, you know exactly what to do, don't you?
Yes.
Now, if there were never any upsets, if there was nothing to be upset about, if everything went fine all the time, you would have to like find a new way to be.
I'd be bored.
Yeah, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself. So the therapy is about, now let's create a compelling life about something that you're passionate about, that's something that you care about, something that you really would gladly give the rest of your life for, because it speaks to something in your heart and your soul that really gives you chills and goosebumps and brings tears to your eyes. There's something in your life that when it's there, you get moved by it. When you see it in a movie, you hear it in a song or a poem, it touches you and you get goosebumps. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and then the same thing, when that is missing or when that has been violated or trampled upon or abused, you go into a rage. You get really mad about it.
Right.
Yep. That's a very good indicator of what it is that your particular life is animated by. When I talk to people about finding their purpose in life, and I help people to discover their purpose in life and to create a life built around that purpose, you see, then that's something worth seeing a coach about until you get it done, right? So what I usually do is very often, with most of my clients, I'll have a therapy session in which we'll clear up this thing from the past, but that happens so quickly that they're kind of surprised by it. They're kind of expecting it to come back. And sometimes it kind of does, like maybe 3 months or 6 months later, it sort of shows up again, some old pattern that was staying in there. So we'll clean that up. But the rest of the time that they're seeing me is about creating projects and cleaning up the messes they've made in their life and creating projects that has their income, their livelihood, the circumstances and the friends and social milieu that they live in be about and surrounded by this purpose. You see what I'm saying? So,
yes, I do.
For example, I used to be I've had a number of careers, and the most recent one before this career was that I was a designer builder. I was an architectural designer, and I built homes in Beverly Hills and Bel Air and Malibu, and that's what I did because I'm very good at it, and I made a lot of money at it, and I was great. It was good, and I got a good reputation around that and all that stuff. However, it was not what my life was about. Every day I was getting up, and when I would meet people, my friends and so forth, or I'd go to a party, they'd say, how's the construction business? Wow, the price of lumber's gone up. I would have conversations about trucks and tools and, the weather and stuff like that, and it was just not what my life's about, you see? So at one point, when I had a breakthrough, I realized that I needed to spend the rest of my life doing what I'm passionate about, and that's what I'm doing right now.
I see.
So I had to design, I had to get different clothes, I had to get a different car, I had to get a different office, I had to get a different business card, I had to get different friends, I had to learn new things that I had never learned before. I had to learn how to build a website and make books and CDs and DVDs and write seminars and stuff, you see?
Yeah,
it's a whole new world.
You're very good at it too. I mean, I really learned a lot from you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my passion, you see, and so it's what I do all day, every day. I get up in the morning, and I never have to wonder. Sometimes I wonder, what to do first, but I never have to wonder what my life's about today or what I'm going to be doing with my life today. If it does something that would help me to help other people or help my wife to help other people, then that's what I'm doing today. You see?
Excellent. And then I really got a good answer from you, and I hope that I can come to your office and get this virus out of my system. Is there any way one can email you?
Yes.
Is it possible that I can email you, or do you get emails from your patients?
Well, I get emails, but it's only when they're engaged in a specific I have a program called My Best Year Program. Okay? And that program is available to people who have done sessions with me in which they've had a breakthrough in whatever it is that's stopping them, holding them back, hindering them. Once I know that they've broken through that, in other words, there's a boundary condition to your thinking and your consciousness. There's something that you keep bumping up against like a boundary, and you haven't been able to get past it, and now you've actually gotten on the phone and asked somebody, is there some way to get past this? So, and I'm saying, yes, there is. So once you break through that, once you penetrate that boundary, that barrier, you're seeing your life from a whole different perspective. It's a whole new view of your life and what you're about. Then I have a coaching program called My Best Year, and people register in that, and then we talk every week, and they have unlimited emails to me as long as the emails are about the subject that we're talking about. So
I should go through the office then if I wanted to see if we can work something out together for my therapy, and also maybe another member of my family together.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I do the therapy by Skype. I have clients all over the world we have Skype meetings, you know.
Right.
A certain day, a certain hour, we both sit down at our computers and we talk on Skype, so it's like we're face to face, because I need to see you.
I can come to your office.
You live in LA? Okay, that's great. That's great.
So I should, I cannot
even better.
Email you directly. I have to go to the office. Is that correct?
Well, you can call the office, which is that 310-460 number, and you can speak with Rosie or Shada that are there at the office taking calls all the time, and you can set up an appointment to speak with me, and then we'll take it from there, and then they'll tell you everything you need to know about setting up a session. Okay?
Very good. Is this program, by the way, archived in any way that I can we can
access it?
Look at it again. Is it rerun or archived, anything like that?
Well, I have an archive. I have a personal archive, and of course they have an archive here at NITV. And this show repeats, I believe, in 12 hours. So